This is the Art of Letting Go Masterclass. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. It's a couple of hours, but I think it'll be worth your while. And we start with the meditation, and then we're going to move into some pretty interesting information that I'm going to share with you, and an opportunity for you to actually take some action on it as well. So the full title of tonight's presentation is How to Let Go of Any Fearful Thought or Emotion in Minutes Using 7 Secret Stress-Busting Immune Boosting Techniques. So I'll be talking you through just now actually how you can do a little process, a 2-step letting go process to let go of any fearful thought or emotion in a matter of minutes. And I'll talk about the 7 secret stress-busting immune boosting techniques later on in the presentation. And it's really about riding this, what I call the wild tiger of change. I think, who would have said at the beginning of this year, if someone had said to you on New Year's Eve, by April or March, you're all going to be locked down, half the world's going to be in quarantine, and economies are going to be in virtual shutdown, everyone would have said, what? That's not going to happen. But it has. So change is happening. The winds of change are blowing. How do we ride that? To find what I call authentic happiness. I'll explain what that's about. Fulfilling flow, a sense of higher purpose, wonderful well-being, and actually thrive in these challenging times. Because I think that's the opportunity in crisis, in change. There's always the opportunity to thrive, or you can go the other way and you can get very fearful and very upset and find it very difficult without resorting to a lot of the conventional solutions. So you might have read motivational books in the past. I certainly have. Workshops, personal coaching, hand sanitizer. That's my own little joke. Apologies for that. Pills or psychotherapy bills. So there's these various solutions out there, but I'm gonna propose a higher one, a more transcendent tonight. So just a quick structure and objectives. What we're gonna cover. It's going to guide you through a simple breath relaxation technique and a 2-step letting go process. Just going to then go into the introduction of myself and what A Course in Miracles is all about. If you haven't heard of it, I'll explain exactly what's involved, what it is. I'll share 3 life-changing principles and 7 secret stress-busting techniques that will help you to live them consistently, because it's all about actually living this and applying this. That's 90% of the job. And I'll talk about the 1 key skill you need to master to be authentically happy, find your flow and higher purpose, and experience true success. And while we're going backwards, let's just click. And I'll tell you how and when you can do the course. So there's an Art of Letting Go course that can help you to let go and find the authentic happiness, fulfilling flow, and true success you want and deserve. I'll tell you a little bit more about the course, and then we'll have some questions and answers. It's a pretty small session, so if you have any questions along the way, happy to make it interactive. That's the beauty of Zoom. So you can just make it pretty interactive and ask any questions as they arise. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through a little 2-step letting go process. So this doubles as our community meditation. We do this every twice a day, morning and evening. And that's why Hazel and Debbie and Carol have joined us. I'll take you through a little 2-step letting go process to give you a little bit of just an opportunity to kind of let go and surrender, just clear your mind of anything that you've brought in. And there's a 10-step letting go process that I'm going to give you access to if you stay for the whole masterclass. If you stay till the very end of the session, I'll give you the instruction sheet, and there's a half-an-hour guided meditation worth £5. So an incentive to stay for the whole course. So let's just do a meditation right now. Any questions? All good? You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So just put your phone on mute or silent so we don't get disturbed. by any mobile phones. Okay, and I'm just going to record this and send it out to my community as a recording so that they can join it. Okay, everyone ready? Just I'm gonna put just gonna go live on Facebook. I'm gonna put my speaker on mute during this. If there's noise in your background, just mute yourself. Otherwise, it tends to work better if you keep yourself unmuted. Just so you know. So just sitting comfortably, so a nice sort of meditation posture, feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And just connect with your breath. So breathing in through the nose. Notice how the stomach rises. So take a nice deep breath in. Fill the lower stomach, then the middle chest, the upper chest, then into the head. Find some stillness at the top of the inhale. Just notice any thoughts, any emotions that are going on for you. So that might be any kind of distracting thought in your mind, any emotion that's related to that. Just scan your mind and notice what's going on. And just, this is an opportunity just to let it go and clear your mind. So as you exhale, use the exhalation to just release that static negative energy, thoughts. Just letting them go into nothingness that they always were and still are. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Just find the stillness. So bring to mind any situation now that might have been disturbing you today or the last few days. Just noticing that. Thoughts around it, maybe there's some anxiety, some worry, maybe some anger, frustration. Bring it all to mind. First step of this two-step letting go process, just to become aware of it. As you become aware of it, you can just choose to let it go. So breathing in. Nice deep inhale through the nose, breathing into the lower stomach, filling up the belly button, so there's a balloon inflating. Then into the heart center, into the upper chest, into the head. And you just filling yourself up, creating some emptiness, some openness, some space in your mind. Again, just scan your mind and notice any thoughts and emotions going through it. Tuning into the feelings of what these feel like, so the subtle sensations. Maybe you feel some kind of negative energy in your chest, contraction in your stomach, These things can even make you feel nauseous. Well, the second step in the process is just to let it all go. You're exhaling, full deep exhale out your mouth, let it all go, releasing just some of that stuck negative static energy. As you exhale, blowing it out, you can imagine a dark grey or black smoke just leaving you. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Find some stillness. Bottom of the exhale. Notice how clear and light you feel compared with a few minutes ago. Take another nice deep breath in. This time imagine you breathing in a golden or white light into your stomach. So it's flowing into stomach, blowing up like a balloon to the heart center, to the upper chest, to the head. It's filling you up. Imagine every cell and every muscle of your body is filled with this radiant golden or white light. In the presence of the light, darkness cannot continue. Darkness must leave. So bring that light into any remaining thoughts and emotions that you could call dark. So that could be any fear, worry, anxiety, anger, frustration. Again, notice how this feels in your mind, notice how it feels in your body. And often these things will show up in our bodies as some kind of tightness, a contraction in your stomach, in your heart. Maybe you even feel nauseous. Just tune into all that. Imagine the light, just take another sip of air, just breathing the light into that area, particularly whether it's in your stomach, your chest, maybe your jaw clenching. As you exhale, just feel that dissipating. So you're releasing, just letting it all go. Imagine you blowing out this dark negative energy as a dark grey or black smoke. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, so you're completely empty. Just find the stillness. It's in the gap between inhales and exhales and exhales and inhales. Find this exquisite stillness. This is the light. This is what happens when you let go. And the peace that passes all understanding. So just for a minute or so, just going to sink into this deep, calm, peaceful place. Your mind. Just watch your breath. So breathing in, notice the stomach rise, the chest rise, subtle flow of air into your nostrils. Pause, find the stillness. Feel a light imbuing every cell and every muscle of your body, extending into your mind. As you pause and you exhale, imagine it extending out. You just kind of make a sighing sound in the back of your throat. It's called the Ujjayi sound in yoga, if you've done any yoga. And notice how the air flows out, stomach and chest suck back in. Imagine that as you do that, the light's extending out. Pause again, rest in that light. And then just breathing in again. Plating the lower stomach into the middle chest, upper chest, the head. Feel the light imbuing every cell and every muscle of your body. As you exhale, sigh it all out, and just imagine extending that light to someone in particular. Maybe there's someone you know who needs it. But don't stop there, just extend it out to everyone you know, and everyone you don't know. The entire human race, every living creature. Feel that lovely light extension in your mind. And the beauty of the mind is you can do that just with a thought and a feeling. You can go into this state of unconditional love and giving straight away. So set the breath in motion, just keep breathing in the light. Stomach rises, breathe in the light into every pore, every cell and every muscle of your body. Pause, you find the stillness, and then you exhale. Just extending it out, radiating it out. So just do this for a minute or so, watch your breath, step back and become the observer of this whole process. Remind yourself there's really nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. You can just step back and watch this amazing life-giving process called breath happen to you, through you and for you. Without any conscious stressing, straining or striving. Maybe you get a little glimpse of the truth that light is you and you are the light. There's really no bringing it in and exhaling it out. It's just the light. You're just becoming aware of it. So sink into that awareness for the next minute of silence. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. Please relax, be still, be in the light for the next minute. So just gently coming back. Same way we entered the meditation, you're going to just exit, come out of it. So noticing the breath, stomach rising, chest rising. Find stillness in the light at the top of the inhale. Pause. And just exhale. Big ujjayi sound in the back of your throat. Chest and stomach suck back in. Find the stillness at the bottom of the exhale. So that's 1. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 2. Just noticing what you're feeling and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair. Feet pressing into the ground. Notice what you're hearing. Tuning into the very subtle sounds. Your environment might be ticking of a clock, whirring of a computer fan. When you notice these things, just notice them without any attempt to judge, label, interpret, or resist. Just notice any resistance. And then just drop it. Notice how peaceful that perception is. This is what it means to be in the light. It's a very light perception. It's no mental activity about your perception. Just very clear, very still, mind is calm, no distorting emotions, just presence, just beingness in the moment. Now in 3, open your eyes, just looking around, so taking 30 seconds just to glance around whatever you happen to see in the room. Just let your eyes rest on a few random objects. Make no attempt to select them. And then you just move on to the next one. There's no attempt again to judge them, label them, interpret them. Just let them rise and then you move on. Again, notice how peaceful it is when you're in this state. There's not a lot of mental activity. This is the ultimate goal of all meditation, all spiritual practices, to bring you into this very, very peaceful state of mind where you can be in the world, you can operate in the world. You're not of the world, as Jesus said. You're just able to observe it very peacefully, function actually much better than the average person, but without any of the mental chatter, the emotional static and noise that occupies most people's consciousness. And just stay connected to your breath for the rest of the evening. So staying for the rest of the masterclass, I'll remind you every now and then, just kind of watch your breath. Set it in that nice, deep diaphragmatic breath, that nice rhythmical breath. Just watch it and let that just be in the background. And that will just help you to stay anchored into this lovely, peaceful, calm perception. So I hope you enjoyed that. For those in the WhatsApp group, I want to bid you good night. Thank you for listening. Have a lovely, peaceful evening. Bye for now. For those on Zoom, you're all still with me. No one's dropped off to sleep, hopefully.
No.
Excellent.
First time I meditated, I almost fell off my chair.
Well, that's then she went quite deep. When she went quite deep. How was that? Well, how was that for you, Jay?
It was fine, thank you. It was lovely.
You enjoyed it? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
But have you done any meditation before?
I meditate 3 or 4 times a day.
Okay. So you experienced. And Teresa, you still with us?
Yeah. That was lovely. I used to meditate, and just over the years I've just stopped. And
Oh,
yeah.
You're not quite sure why.
Yeah. Life.
Yeah.
Life got
you get
crazy.
busy, and
Yeah.
have you got kids?
No.
Well, that can.
No, just lots of change in the last few years. So.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good time.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good time to start that habit again. And I'll talk about meditation and some of the research on it, because there's been a lot of research in the last few years about what it does, and it really should be something that we all do, just like we shower, we brush our teeth, we wash our face, etc. Should be a face wash for the mind. That's really what it is. But somehow it seems to be optional, isn't it? Okay, so before we continue, I'm just going to close my door because I had a dog who pushed it open. It's a bit cold. It's It's kind of going into winter here, and it's a little bit chilly. I'm in the mountains, so having the door wide open, the whole presentation might be a bit cold. Okay. So for those who want to stay, Carol, Debbie, Hazel, you're welcome to stay if you want to, for as long as you want to. I might ask you to share some of your experiences if you do that. So just to talk a little bit about some of these other solutions I mentioned. So you probably read some of these types of books, motivational books, and we've all done that. I started reading them at the age of 12. Probably read hundreds in my life, and I'm not knocking them. I think it's a great starting point. But at some point, you sort of start to look at the whole philosophy and say, is it really about what you can do? Is it really about what you can achieve? Is that what your life is about? Or is there something else? Is there something deeper? And so I'll share a little experience that I had that really taught me this. I was growing up in my teens. I was reading these books. My sister had something called ME, and so she got these books, and when she finished them, she'd hand them on to me. So at a pretty young age, I started immersing myself in this. And it became very clear to me that there were kind of two ways of thinking. There was the sort of very conservative, fearful way that was represented by my father. He's a pretty conservative man, he still is. And then there was this way that was being shown to me, another much more positive way, saying, look, you can do anything. What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Napoleon Hill from Think and Grow Rich, which was one of the first of these kinds of books that sort of birthed the whole industry. And I really bought into that philosophy at that young age. And I was a pretty good squash player, so I decided to apply these teachings to my squash. I was going to be the world champion. That was my goal from the age of about 12 or 13. I set the goal, I visualized, I did everything these books were telling me to do. And to an extent, it worked. I did go overseas. I went to university first, which probably wasn't the best idea if I really wanted to be a world champion, but it's kind of what you do in this country. And then I went overseas. I went to the UK, spent a couple of years there, started training with the world's #1 players. So, I was making headway, got a world ranking. And then kind of life threw a spanner in the works. So I had to leave the UK for visa reasons. I didn't have the correct visa, which kind of kiboshed my whole plan. And sort of in my late 20s, I came back to South Africa and started working with a coach. I still had the dream. The dream was alive still, but I just remember one day I played a kind of practice match against a chap I normally beat. He was in the top 20 in this country, but he certainly wasn't a world beater. I didn't play very well that day, and I lost to him. I just remember sitting at the side of this squash court and kind of going, this isn't going to happen. You've got to get real. You're in your late 20s. I was 28 at the time or something. And if you haven't made it by then in squash, you're not going to do it. You're too old. And so that was kind of a real letting go opportunity in my late 20s. And it really made me back up and question everything that I'd learned to that point. All these books I'd read, saying, you can do anything. I was like, but hang on, I really believed this and I really gave it my all, and yet it didn't happen. There were reasons why it didn't happen. If I'd been British, maybe it would have been easier. If I'd had more financial support, who knows? But it didn't happen. So why not? And I had to let go of this lifelong goal and this lifelong sort of dream that had really driven me for 15, nearly 20 years. And there was a pretty major kind of letting go opportunity, as I call it. I didn't understand really what that meant at that point, but I did feel a sense of peace. Even though I let go, I was like, okay, well, I'll just carry on with my life. It hasn't ended. I'm only in my late 20s. I'll carry on playing squash because I enjoy it. And I found I actually played better, and I found a lot of peace without that sort of driving ambition And the fear that underlay it, there was always this desire, there's this fear that I wouldn't do it, and that somehow my life wouldn't be worthwhile if I didn't achieve this goal of being number one. If I really think about it in hindsight, it's a crazy setup. So you have to be the best at this particular sport, otherwise your life is worthless. I mean, talk about setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. So I guess I learned some of these spiritual lessons that a lot of spiritual teachers are teaching about desire, about fear, about expectation, about letting go, really, at quite an early age, because I had to let go of this lifelong dream and then move on to something else. And I wasn't quite sure, what that was or what it would look like. Apologies, the dog now wants to come in. That's fine. Maybe I should just leave the dog. Leave the door open. Okay. Oh, all right.
Oh.
Well, you stood too close to the door. Okay, stay there. Dogs don't understand things like webinars.
Oh, we don't mind if it joins in.
Anyway, she's very sweet. Yeah,
You can even bark.
she's in a appointed place on the couch.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's a bit of my story. That's how I really started this real spiritual journey. I suppose I started at 12 because these ideas all point ultimately to a positive idea that's beyond just fear and negativity. But I think it really started in earnest in my late 20s when I managed to just actually let this go and find a sense of a peace and serenity. I didn't really understand it at that point. But because I'm quite intellectual and I like reading, I started reading different kinds of books. I'd also started meditating when I was in England. I think that helped. The idea was to help me improve my squash, but actually when you start meditating, it opens you up on a spiritual level. And so I started reading books like Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. It had just been published then. So I read that. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. The Urantia book, books on Jesus, like pretty much anything I could lay my hands on, because it was like, what is this? And there was something opening up. I remember reading The Power of Now and just being really so enraptured by it. I was like, wow, like how could I have missed this my entire life? How could I be nearly 30 years old and missed this, such a simple teaching like this in the now? Just there's only ever now. It's like, obviously, but it wasn't so obvious for most of my life up to that point. And so I started reading these books. I started a part-time business. I was doing web development at the time. I started a part-time business with a friend who was a motivational speaker. We had this idea of starting some kind of program, selling CDs online, etc. We developed a website, and then in about 2005, 2006, I decided I wanted to actually teach myself. I didn't just want to do the back-end web stuff. I wanted to actually teach some of the stuff that I learned. More sort of less motivational, and more spiritual or inspirational. And there's a primary difference. So motivation is really about getting you to take some action to get a result. That's what motivation is about. It's about moving you. And spirituality or inspiration are about taking you into a place where you're just at peace and you're one with a deeper sense of who you are, your higher self, your true being, whatever you want to call it. And then you act out of that place. It's not about needing to do something in order to get somewhere. It's about, I'm already there. There's nowhere else to go. I already am what I am. But now maybe I can express or extend that outwards in my action. And your actions and your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, and your results are going to be very different depending on which of those two kind of paths or voices you follow. And I've definitely seen it. The one with the motivational path, there's a lot of desires, a lot of expectation, but there's also a tremendous amount of fear. What I found that's lurking underneath there. As the Buddha said, he said, desire is a source of all suffering. He nailed it right on the head 2,500 years ago. and yet still this stuff is taught. I was on a mailing list of some American motivational speaker who made a fortune. And he was giving 6 kind of tips, and his top tip for success in life was ambition. I'm like, really? Ambition? So that's just desire in another form. So I want something more than what I am already, and that goes totally contrary to these very ancient spiritual teachings. So it became very clear to me, well, what are you going to believe? Who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the likes of Buddha, Jesus, these spiritual masters, or people who are trying to sell their books, trying to sell their CDs, they're trying to build their little business empire, on the back of really what are very limited false teachings, because they won't ultimately bring you to peace. And that's really what we all want. There's a sense of peace, a sense of happiness that is not dependent on what you do, the results you achieve. Your sense of worth is not dependent on what you do, which is kind of the whole Western psychosis, really, that somehow our self-worth is dependent on what we do and what we achieve, which keeps us doing, and somehow we never seem to get there. Maybe you resonate with this, or maybe you don't. Is it Teresa, you still there?
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, kind of resonate. Maybe you've had similar experiences. Okay, there's PowerPoint now hanging. See if we can move on. So that was sort of how I started on this path, and I really started moving in a much more spiritual direction. I started doing workshops and retreats where I taught this kind of philosophy, more sort of motivation, but there was a spiritual element mixed in there. Went to Tony Robbins's workshop in some seminar in London, seeking. Somehow it's like, really, are you going to find the truth here? Everyone. It was quite an experience, but it was like, is this really self-empowerment, or is this some kind of hero worship? Everyone's kind of worshipping this guy on stage. It didn't really resonate with me. Maybe you've had similar experiences. I don't know. Obviously, there's pills, using everything external, psychotherapy. There's many approaches, but I was really looking for the truth. At some point, I was like, okay, so show me what it is. I really want to know. And I guess when you ask, you receive. And so in 2006, I came across this book called A Course in Miracles. I'd seen it referred to a couple of times. It's a pretty hefty tome. It's over 1,300 pages. I'd seen it referred to in quotes and so on, and did a workshop, co-presented a workshop with a guy who'd studied it, and he said, well, it's the true teachings of Jesus. Well, that intrigued me. I was like, well, okay. And to be honest, my mission is, I wanted to learn it because I thought, well, that'd be quite cool. I'd like to work miracles. Walk on water, change water into wine, raise the dead, that kind of thing. And obviously, 14 years later, I kind of realized that it was a pretty immature view of what a miracle is, but at least it got me started. It got me in the path, and something in the book really spoke to me, and I've worked with it ever since. I've been reading it pretty much every day. Since then, there's a workbook where you work through 365 lessons during the day, during the year, and I've been doing that for 14 years. And that's brought me to this point where I've developed the Art of Letting Go course. Decided, well, I want to put this out there. I want to take it online, and really create a program that summarizes what the course teaches, some of my own experience, put it into a 6-week course, which I started developing a couple of years ago, and it's a work in progress. So there's just a few snapshots from my life. There I am as a young squash player. That's a retreat I ran in Mozambique. We used to do some dolphin swimming, which was really nice. Times when we weren't locked down. That's me in London with my then fiancée. She's now my wife. So I went over to the UK in 2012. I'd spent 5-6 years building a business here, running these workshops, retreats. I did breathwork workshops, meditation workshops. But something in me was like, okay, well, where's this going? You're going to just keep doing this. You've done it for 5 or 6 years, or how do you grow? So I got an opportunity to go to London, help a friend to start a business. It was totally in another field. It was capital raising for an energy startup, which was, but some of the skills that I learned of, promoting and getting people to physical events were useful. So we managed to raise actually quite a bit of money, like over £1.5 million in a few months. So it was an interesting experience, and it connected me with a whole different world. I met my wife, started off as a lodger actually, and one thing led to another, and that really changed my life completely. I moved over to the UK in 2016. We had a child, and in a very short space of time, I changed careers. So I moved into financial services away from what I was doing. I'd moved countries. I'd got married, and had a son. So a tremendous amount of change in a year or two. And I think it kind of catapulted me into some kind of midlife crisis. Fortunately, I had these spiritual teachings. I had a Course in Miracles I was working with. I meditated, and that really saw me through it. So it was an opportunity for major transformation, which I'm very grateful for. It was a very difficult time, but I'm not sure there's any easy way to really do authentic transformation. So that's me in North Dorset in Shaftesbury running a breathwork workshop. There I am in corporate mode, so started doing some capital raising, started selling merchant services because I needed to do something, and I didn't really know how to monetize what I knew. That's kind of been my journey over the last couple of years. How do you actually do this? And there I am on the beach with my son last year. Came out to South Africa. I'm currently here. Plan was to come back, but the lockdown happened before I could apply and get a visa. So I'm kind of stuck here for the moment. But the plan is to come back to the UK and rejoin my family. So who knows what's next? I'm just kind of surrendered to the process I'm in. I'm in the mountains at the moment in South Africa, so it's not a bad place to be, and I'm enjoying it. So a little bit about A Course in Miracles. Are you familiar with it, Teresa and Jay?
No.
You've never heard of it? Okay.
No.
Jay?
I have. A friend and I actually quite often talk about this book.
Okay. Have you actually read it and studied it, or just you just heard about it?
No, it's just not one that I've picked up and I've felt at home with.
Okay. So I'll give you a little intro into what A Course in Miracles is, where it came from, and that's not an uncommon experience, by the way, that people pick it up and they're like seriously, this is like biblical. It's quite daunting. It's kind of why I've put together a program to help people to work through it. But how did the course come? So it's a transmitted. It's not channeled as such. You know what channeling is? Channeling is like someone takes over the person's mind and sort of uses them as their voice. It's not that. It was transmitted. So this lady called Helen Schuckman started hearing the voice of Jesus. He identified himself as such in 1965. It was after a situation where her and her boss. She was a research psychologist at the College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. So it's affiliated to Columbia University. So an academic environment. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of stress. There was a lot of infighting. A lot of conflict. She had a lot of conflict with her boss, Bill Thetford, who was the head of the department. One day they were driving to a disciplinary hearing, which happened quite frequently. And he just turned to her in frustration and he said, there must be a better way than this. Surely there's a better way than all this conflict, all this backstabbing. I'm sick of it. There must be a better way. And she said, yeah, I agree, and I'll help you to find it. So there was kind of a meeting of minds, a joining in what A Course in Miracles calls a holy purpose, to find a better way, to find a way other than the ego's way of conflict and suffering and all the pain it causes. And very soon afterwards, Helen started having these vivid dreams. This voice started speaking to her sometimes in the day. She dreamt about Jesus in her dreams. She saw herself as a kind of white priestess. She shared these experiences with Bill because she was a bit freaked out by them. She wasn't spiritual in any sense of the word. She was actually Jewish by birth, but she was an atheist, very, very much in her head, intellectual, invested in the world and in worldly goals. In fact, quite the opposite of what A Course in Miracles is teaching. So it's interesting that she was sort of chosen as the vehicle to transmit this. And in October of that year, 1965, she started. One night she was at home, and this voice just started over and over saying, "This is A Course in Miracles. Please take notes." She got a bit freaked out. She phoned Bill. He said, "Well, why don't you just do what it said and write it down and bring in your notes tomorrow, and we'll take a look at it." And so she started doing that. And when she brought it in the next morning, she had a couple of pages of this amazing material. And Bill was like, "Well, no disrespect, Helen, but this isn't from you." She said, "Yeah, I know. I know it's not from me. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's freaking me out." But it's extremely powerful. And she found it a very difficult process. This process continued over 7 years. This transcription process. This voice would come every now and then and would just come into her head, and she'd write for an hour or two, and then it would go and it would pick up exactly where it left off a day or two later. And that process happened over the course of 7 years. She would take her notes into Bill. He would help her type them up. And then they did a couple of edits of it. Eventually it was published in 1976 in 3 volumes as A Course in Miracles. So it comprises of a text, which is about 670 pages long. That's kind of the theory, the principles, the philosophy, which the course is based. Then there's a 488-page workbook, which is made up of 365 daily lessons that are designed to train your mind how to actually apply the principles, how to let go of its negativity, allow you to live in a miraculous state of mind. I call that state flow, but the course calls it miracles. It's really, the words don't really matter that much. It's that pointers to an inner state. I think flow is possibly more understandable and more accessible for most people. So I try and use terms that are going to be as understandable for people as possible. And then there's a manual for teachers, which is about 92 pages. That's some additional guidance and clarification of terms in a question and answer format. And there's a few other little addenda to it that came subsequently, but effectively the course is that. It's in 3 parts: the text, the workbook, and the manual for teachers. And the body of it is the text and the workbook. Really, if you're doing A Course in Miracles, if you're studying it, you need to be doing both the text and the workbook. So I've been through some of this. Really, it's a systematic mind training course. That's why it's called a course, to teach you a radically different way of thinking about and perceiving everything from a non-dual perspective. Non-dual means not two. So it's coming from a place where it's saying really only this idea of oneness is true. And that's at the back, that's in the background of every spiritual teaching of any significance. There's the idea that there's something other than two. There's this oneness that is there, that's somehow being denied by us. So we've created a dualistic world based on the idea of opposites. But non-dual teaching goes all the way back to ancient India, the Vedas, which were written thousands of years ago, on which yoga and Hinduism was based. So the course is just a modern version of that ancient non-dual teaching called Advaita Vedanta. In fact, Bill Thetford said it's the Western equivalent of the Vedanta. It's designed to teach you how to forgive or to let go. So again, just terminology. The course uses the term forgiveness a lot. For a lot of people, they don't really understand what forgiveness means. Does it mean I forgive someone else? And the course, the forgiveness doesn't really mean that, as the course teaches. What it means is that you're letting go in your own mind of every false belief, thought, and emotion that causes you and others to suffer. It's as simple as that. It's about your own process of letting go of your belief, your attachment to, your investment in these beliefs and the thoughts and emotions that go along with it. When you forgive someone, you're really not forgiving them as such. You're letting go of your own false beliefs that they trigger. And so that's a very important distinction. When you can let go of those false beliefs, thoughts, and emotions that cause you and others to suffer, then you're enlightened. It's as simple as that. Then there's no longer a belief in two voices in your mind. There's only one, and that voice is the voice of love. And so it's a spiritual path that will allow you to live happily, peacefully, and lovingly, which all of that combined I call flow, and ultimately attain enlightenment. That's the promise of it. And enlightenment, in the Course's terms, is not being a better person in the world. Enlightenment is transcending the world entirely. It's actually leaving the whole place behind and going back to what the Course calls heaven, a place where you're just in the mind. There is no need to be in form. There's no need for a material world. And the Course is designed to help you to attain that state in this lifetime, to live happily, peacefully, and lovingly while you're doing that, and ultimately transcend the world. So some well-known students of the Course. You might be familiar with Marianne Williamson. She's probably the best known teacher of the Course. She's actually running for the presidential candidacy of the Democrats in this year's presidential election. I don't think she's going to get it, but she's there trying to do a thing on a worldly platform. Nelson Mandela. Now, I don't think he was actually a student of the Course per se, just to clarify this, but he was certainly influenced by ideas from the Course. He quoted Marianne Williamson when he left prison in his first speech after he left prison. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, which most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We're born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And he quoted that. A lot of people think it's his quote, but it came from a book based on A Course in Miracles by Marianne Williamson called A Return to Love. So he was obviously influenced by those ideas. He did have a lot of time to read while he was in prison. So spent 27 years reading, and these ideas influenced him. And you can see he was a pretty happy guy. He'd let go of his own grievances and his own resentment. And he came out in a transformed state, which is probably the best thing that could have happened to this country. Because if he'd come out an angry, bitter, vengeful man, I think we would have had a very different history over the last 25 years. Oprah Winfrey, probably heard of her. She's interviewed and she's friends with the likes of Marianne Williamson, Eckhart Tolle. She's studying the Course. Marianne's kind of her spiritual guru. Deepak Chopra, probably you've heard of him. Wayne Dyer. But Wayne Dyer is an interesting guy because he started off very much in the motivational genre. He wrote best-selling books like Your Erroneous Zones. I remember reading that back in the 80s. And then in the last sort of 15, 20 years of his life, he went in a much more spiritual direction and started studying A Course in Miracles and the Vedanta, and started writing books. Like Eckhart Tolle has started teaching A Course in Miracles. If you've watched any of his videos of the last year or so, he's referring to it quite a lot. Michael Beckwith, and there's many others, but those are some of the better known students and teachers of the Course. So it's out there. There's people studying it. There's people referring to it. It's a spiritual path that's been around for now over 50 years. Okay, so that's a little bit of preparation. Everyone still with me?
Yeah.
Great. as I said, if you've got any questions at any point, just feel free to ask me. Just a question, and I want you to just pause and consider this. So why are you here today? You don't have to answer that, but just ask yourself. Why do we do anything? Why do we show up to webinars and seminars, workshops? Well, it must be because we're looking for something. Otherwise, if everything was perfectly hunky-dory in our lives, well, we'd just be like, well, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to look. I'm perfectly happy as I am. And so you might think that you're looking for better health. That's a very common one in today's world, especially with the COVID-19 thing. Health sort of come to the forefront in the last 3-4 months. More wealth, that's a huge one. Loads of webinars saying, well, I'll show you how to make money, how to become wealthier, how to invest your money, better relationships. So we're all looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, our special person, our soulmate, twin soul, call it whatever you want. Maybe it's a better quality of life. And that might include things like, more peace of mind, more meditation, more time off, more leisure time. Maybe it's just relief from stress, anxiety, and depression. These are quite chronic conditions. I think our society is a highly stressed society. I think what's happening now with the COVID-19 thing is really just a manifestation of a much deeper problem. That actually we're sick with stress, causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and now it's been labeled as COVID-19. But actually the problem is not just a virus. The problem is in the mind. In fact, I think it's Mental Health Week this week in the UK. So the mental health has come to the forefront recently, because what we started to realize in the medical industry, started to realize that our mental state has a huge impact on our physical health. But ultimately, what are you really looking for? So these might all be things that on a level we're looking for. But underlying this, what are we really looking for? Just pause, consider, like, what are you really looking for? And if you were going to put a word on it, any ideas, by the way? Let's make this interactive.
Growing.
Teresa, what are you really looking for?
Inner peace.
Yeah. If you want to, and that's one way of phrasing it. I just call it happiness. So an enlightened master, Ramana Maharshi, just talked about happiness. We want to be happy. Call that peace, call that happy. In the end, we just want to be okay in our own minds, in our own selves. And what we think, and this is the great illusions, the great setup, that a part of our minds that Course in Miracles calls the ego, sets us up for, is it says that you're going to find your happiness somewhere outside of you. That's the great illusion of the world. And that's why we haven't found lasting happiness, because if we're looking outside of ourselves, we're looking in the wrong place. So we think that we'll be happy when we have better or more of something external to us. So health and fitness, even though it's our body, it's still not our mind. It's something that's outside of our mind. Health and fitness of the body. We're constantly being bombarded by these images of young, fit, sexy, healthy people. And most people obviously don't live up to that, especially as you get older. It becomes harder and harder to do that. Money and the things that money can buy, fancy cars, a nice lifestyle, nice home, special relationships. So that's a huge one. And we know that the special relationships and sex are used to sell all kinds of products and music. You listen to the majority of pop songs, it's about this special person in your life who's going to come and make you happy or drive you around the bend, as the case may be. Travel and holidays. That's kind of come to a grinding halt over the last 3 months around the world. But still, there's a part of us that goes, well, if we go somewhere else, I'll be happier. And yes, temporarily, you get some relief from your existing environment. You're in a nice tropical location. Well, hey, you can chill out, you can relax, you can find some more peace. But if you haven't resolved the real underlying problem in your mind, which is your tendency to misperceive and to create stress for yourself, then you haven't really gone anywhere. And obviously pleasurable experiences, however you define those. It might be fine dining, nice trips, whatever you define as pleasure in this world. And we're told, the world teaches us that if we get these things, if we seek these things and we get these things, then we'll be happier. That's really actually what underlies all marketing. Someone's selling you something. They're selling you the promise that this is going to make you happier. Either it's going to be something you desire, it's going to make you happier when you get it, or it's going to be something you're going to move away from. You're going to move away from pain. Moving away from pain and towards pleasure is the basis of all marketing. But ultimately, none of these things are going to work. Because happiness is not a goal in itself. And this quote says it beautifully. Happiness is a butterfly, which, when pursued, is always just beyond your grasp, but which, if you will sit down quietly, may come and alight on you. That's from The Golden Key to Prosperity and Happiness, 1885. So when people say this stuff is new age, it's really not new age. It's been around a very long time. In fact, it's the fundamental human quest for happiness. It's the spiritual quest for truth, for a way of finding happiness in a world that often seems to be set against that purpose. And this quote says it beautifully. If you will just sit quietly and not seek and not try and find something, then it may just come and alight on you. What could be simpler? Easier said than done, but really that's the fundamental principle behind happiness. So where can you find it? So this is a chap called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who's the world's leading expert on flow. And this is what he had to say about happiness. And he's just echoing what a lot of spiritual masters have said throughout the ages. To know oneself is the first step toward making flow a part of one's entire life. Just as there is no free lunch in the material economy, nothing comes free in the psychic one. If you're not willing to invest psychic energy in the internal reality of consciousness, and you instead squander it in chasing external rewards, one loses mastery of one's life, ends up becoming a puppet of circumstances. Well, he's just kind of described the whole capitalist system, isn't he? That what it's designed to get us to do is to chase external rewards, and actually to lose mastery of our life and become a puppet of circumstances. And we're kind of seeing that now. You know, the very same mechanisms that are used to market stuff to us are now being used to make us a puppet of a so-called coronavirus, COVID-19 epidemic. And if you believe all that, then you're going to be a victim of it, and you're going to be very fearful and not happy at all. So that's the last few months have really demonstrated that. That's from the movie The Matrix. I don't know if you've watched it, but that's Neo's head. He's just gone to see the oracle, and she says, "Do you know what that sign means?" And he says, "No, it's Latin for know thyself, temet nosce," which is the ultimate injunction of every great spiritual teaching and teacher. Know thyself. Who are you really? So self-discipline actually becomes the key to happiness then, because sometimes to know yourself, it sounds bizarre, but that's the truth of the matter in this world, is it does require a lot of self-discipline to start to know who you really are, to start to do things that are not serving your ego, that are not seeking outside of yourself for this illusory happiness, that are taking you within, taking you into a place where you can find that inner happiness, that peace. And that requires some self-discipline, which sadly a lot of people are lacking. That's probably the biggest obstacle, the biggest barrier to spiritual growth, is the lack of self-discipline. So the self-discipline to do what? Well, I call them key spiritual practices, or KSPs for short. So these include things like conscious breathing. You did a little bit of that when we did the introductory meditation to the masterclass. What I call multi-dimensional meditation. So meditation is anything just quiets the mind, and there are many, many different ways of doing it. Multi-dimensional means that there are a number of different techniques built into a single meditation that will help you to quiet the mind. And these techniques are called mantras. So one of them is breathing. Another one could be toning. We did a little bit of that with the ha sound or jai sound. Touching, actually noticing what your body's feeling. That's another way of doing it. Sound, auditory, visualization, visualizing light. So you got a little taste of a multidimensional meditation. You can also incorporate things like binaural beats, which you can listen to with stereo headphones. So I've developed some multidimensional meditations that even if you haven't meditated before, even if you've struggled to meditate, something in these meditations are going to work to help your mind to stop. That's what every meditation tries to do, to give your mind something, like a dog with a bone, but maybe you need a different kind of bone. Maybe the visualization thing's not going to work so well for you. Maybe breathing's really going to work for you. Or maybe it's auditory, maybe very auditory oriented. So maybe that's going to work for you. So that's why multidimensional meditation works when if you just sit quietly and watch your breath. That's one way of meditating. For a lot of people, they really struggle with that. So I've just incorporated some other techniques to help you to get past the monkey mind, as the Buddhists call it, which tries to stop you going into a deeper state, into that peace. Then there's forgiveness or letting go, which is really behind all of it. Ultimately, all of these things take you into a state where you can let go, or as the Course in Miracles calls it, forgive. And it's letting go of your own negativity, letting go of your own false beliefs, your own thoughts and emotions that arise from those false beliefs. Just clearing yourself out and finding happiness and a peace that lie beyond that. Then group discussion sessions. So we use Zoom to do these online. Once a week, there's a group discussion session that we do as part of the community. It's also part of the Art of Letting Go course, and it's a great platform. It's just much more interactive. So it's not just me speaking. I'm kind of doing that now. This is a presentation. But in a discussion session, it's much more, okay, well, what do you think? What do you feel? What's arising for you? And often people will ask questions, or they'll bring up a situation in their life. And then we actually apply these spiritual principles to it. And that becomes very, very helpful, because it's not just theoretical anymore. It becomes very practical, and a lot of people can relate to it. It's also not just linear. It's not just me presenting something to you. I did a course last year, so I wanted to just see what other people were doing. It was a personal growth course. And the guy was really just recorded the videos. It was very static, and he's standing there and he's talking to you for an hour or something. You could listen to it on audio or video. But I found it quite boring. It was like, yeah, so like after 10 or 20 minutes, kind of starting to get tired of the guy's voice, and you start to lose focus. Whereas a discussion session is much more interactive and sort of not that sort of one-dimensional. It's much more multi-dimensional. And you start to get perspectives from other people as well, and connect with their problems, and you can relate to what they say. So much more powerful than just a push kind of style teaching. Reading and listening to spiritual texts is another one. The particular text I work with, and it's part of the Art of Letting Go program, is A Course in Miracles. But any profound spiritual text can work to do this job. End of day reflection. So this is something that a lot of people don't even think about doing. Just sit, pause, reflect on your day for 5 or 10 minutes. And I've got a little 4-step questioning process to help you to do that, so that you can learn as much as you can from that day, instead of just going through your days and mindlessly and not really thinking and reflecting on what you learned. Use your experiences that day and apply these spiritual principles to learn as much as you can, and just clear out any negativity that's sitting there. You don't want to go to bed in a bad space. And then a pre-bed relaxation to help you with that, which just sets you up for a good night's sleep, so that you refresh the next day and you start the program again. So those are the 7 spiritual techniques that I promised to share with you. They're not that well known. See, meditation is known, but multidimensional meditation, breath work, I think, is a little hidden gem. There's a lot of people who are not really aware of the power of their breath. Group discussion sessions, what forgiveness is. Most people don't understand forgiveness. So there's a lot of power in doing these not just once off, but every day as an integrated part of your daily life. And I'll talk about how you can do that. Okay, so moving swiftly on, I'll just talk about the 3 secrets I promised to share tonight. So secret number 1 is the key to authentic happiness. So that's how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation provoking them seems to be. And that really is the key. If you can let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter what they are, no matter how challenging the situation provoking them seems to be, then you have the key to your happiness, because you're in control of it. You're not allowing yourself to be controlled by anything external to you. Key to fulfilling flow. So how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. So this is really where the rubber meets the road. It's taking this idea of transcendent happiness and saying, okay, but in this world, you're gonna have to do things, you're gonna have to act, spend a lot of our days doing stuff. So how do you remain poised, and how do you actually enjoy each moment while you taking positive action to respond to things as they arise, to any situation appropriately? And that's really the essence of flow. And then there's the key to true success. So how to be happy and in flow in every aspect of your life. Live an extraordinary, ordinary life. It gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. So this is really the new standard. Can't just be, oh, well, I'm successful in my career, so I'm successful. I've made lots of money, so I'm successful. Can you be happy and in flow in every aspect of your life and live what I call an extraordinary, ordinary life? So even if you're some high-profile politician or rock star, you still, most of your life's pretty ordinary. You're going to get up, you're going to have your breakfast, you're going to go shopping, you're going to talk to someone on Zoom, you're going to have a business meet, whatever. So how do you make that sort of very ordinary life extraordinary? And it's when you're in a different state. When you're in a state of flow, then your ordinary experiences become pretty extraordinary, because you're actually enjoying the moment. You're in that happiness and that peace, no matter what's happening. And this is the miraculous experience. You can just be in flow. You're peaceful, you're happy, no matter what's happening, especially if something challenging happens. That's the real miracle. Then your results transform, because your results are a projection of your own mind. They take on the quality and the energy of what's going on in your mind and your heart. And so this is the inside out way of achieving, of manifesting. You're not actually trying to manifest anything. You're just trying to stay in flow, be in peace, and you let yourself be guided in that state. So it's not driven by the end result and goal setting. It's driven by being who you really are, and just expressing that and extending that in whatever situation you happen to encounter. So I'm just going to unpack these very briefly. So the key to authentic happiness. Well, the first principle behind this is that happiness or unhappiness is always experienced in your own mind. It's nowhere else. Nothing. Happiness is an inner state. So it's not anything outside of you that's making you happy or unhappy. It's a very important realization. It's only your own negative thoughts and feelings that can make you unhappy. So it's your interpretation of events. Something might happen, and it might even be a terrible tragedy, like you lost a loved one, they died. But then you go, well, I lost that person. We use that language. Spoke to someone in the community a couple of weeks ago. Said, yeah, I lost my best friend. But look at the way she framed it. I lost. Well, if you frame it that way, you can only be unhappy. But if you go, no, she's passed on, and she's in a much better place. She's transcended the body, and she's happy. And you interpret it that way, then, well, why get negative about it? Why feel grief? It's only your own attachment to her presence in your life that makes you feel grief. That's just an example. But you can apply this kind of thinking in every single situation. So therefore, learning how to let go, if those two premises are true, and they are, you can quarrel with them. The ego will dispute them, but they are ultimately true if you're really honest with yourself. And learning how to let go of your negative thoughts and emotions. must be the key to happiness. There's no other way. So that's the simplicity of this teaching on letting go. It's the absolute key to happiness. So a little case study. This is a chap by the name of Phil. Phil's in his 80s. He did the Art of Letting Go course nearly 2 years ago now, when he was 80 years old exactly. And he'd been studying a Course in Miracles for 27 years at that point. And this was his comment during the course. He said, the end of the course, he said, I've learned more about the course, he means the Course in Miracles, in the last 6 weeks than in the last 27 years of studying, which was, well, I took as a great compliment. It's probably one of the best things anyone's ever said, because I had less experience than him in it. I'd been doing it for 12 years at that point. So I was under a bit of pressure, and it really benefited him. And he said, I learned how to forgive truly, which is really what the Course in Miracles is teaching. How do you actually forgive or let go truly? And he had a major breakthrough on the last day of the Art of Letting Go course, after we did something called holotropic breathing, which I'll talk about later. It wasn't actually the breathing that did it, but the next day, he just listened to the music track and he started doing a bit of the breathing. And I think it was a culmination of all the processes we'd done over the 6 weeks. He sent me this email that morning. He just described what had happened. He said, I had this catharsis where he really let go of some really deep-seated stuff, baggage that he'd been holding on to since his childhood around his parents. So as he explains here, I had a very loving home. Only of his mother and father were basically very good people, very solid citizens. His mother was brilliant. She had got straight A's at school. She got a bursary to go to university. She taught high school English. Later in life, she did book reviews, and she had a weekly column in the main newspaper in the town in what's now Zimbabwe. It was then Rhodesia, where they lived. So she was a pretty happening lady. But somehow he said, I wanted her to be something else. God only knows what. So during the replay this morning, I started realizing just how unfair and ungrateful I'd been, never acknowledging just how fortunate my life was. It was then that I had a catharsis. I broke down, much as I described someone else's process, and sobbed my heart out. In that long moment, I was able to forgive myself and also to ask my parents for their forgiveness. I've been carrying this baggage around all my life at a huge cost. So really a great story, a great outcome. And he let go of something that had been with him for 70 odd years in 6 weeks. So that is a breakthrough, a transformation. I promised to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of meditation. So this is some research that backs this up as well. So one recent study where a group of people meditated with a compassionate intent for just half an hour per day over a period of 8 weeks found that they became a lot less stressed, a lot less reactive to other people's negativity and suffering. They became more compassionate, and their behavior changed. They became they were far more likely to donate to charity, to let someone into the traffic, to stop and help someone who hurt themselves. They did all these tests on them. And there's numerous other studies that confirm that regular meditation lowers your stress levels, boosts your immunity, and improves your mental and physical health and well-being. It really helps you to let go of this stress, this fight or flight response mode. So we are wired up to respond to stress in a fight or flight response way. The sympathetic nervous system, it's called, activates a whole lot of stress hormones called adrenaline, cortisol, and epinephrine, norepinephrine, which really gets your body G'd up to either fight or flight, to fight or flee. And that's pretty useful if you're facing a lion or something, which is when the response originated, when we were wandering around the plains of Africa or wherever, and there really were life-threatening dangers. But now, 99.9% of the time, there's not a life-threatening danger. It's just more COVID-19 bad news on the news, or it's your boss getting upset with you, it's your partner having an argument. But that stress response gets triggered, and then those chemicals make us much more reactive, much less compassionate, much more likely to get angry, to get upset. That's not good for our own health and well-being. It's not good for other people, because when we're in that state, we respond negatively, and we just spread that negative energy. So meditation, just for half an hour a day over a period of 8 weeks, has been shown to really significantly reduce all of that, and actually started to shrink this amygdala, which is the at the base of the brainstem that's responsible for a lot of this fight or flight response mechanism. So they can track all of this in the biochemistry. That's not really what's important. So research, I just use it because it's another validation of what's going on internally. It's really about what's happening in your mind, mentally and emotionally for you, and how that then helps you to live a better life. That's the key. So secret number 2, the key to fulfilling flow. So this is about learning how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. So a little bit more about what flow is. Have you heard of the term, Teresa? Jay? Have you heard of the term flow? No. Yes, it's a fairly new term, and it's actually a very old concept. It's been around thousands of years. But this chap, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, sort of popularizer, he wrote a number of books on it. And he said it's when we act freely for the sake of the action itself, rather than for ulterior motives, that we learn to become more than what we were. So there's a couple of key components there. It's about freely acting without this ulterior motive, without seeking an end goal, which is the essence of the motivational teaching. Seeking, the end justifies the means. And a lot of horrific things have been done based on that philosophy. We learn to become more than what we were. So when we're in the moment, when we're in flow, we actually learn, we connect with a deeper part of ourselves. Eckhart Tolle had this to say, and I had an experience of exactly this, which I'll share with you once I've shared the quote. So artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling, mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all, or at least is taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you, and yet one with you in essence, takes over. There is no decision-making process anymore. Spontaneous right action happens, and you are not doing it. Mastery of life is the opposite of control. You become aligned with the greater consciousness. It acts, speaks, and does the works. Pretty powerful quote. And I had exactly this experience on the squash court. It was the start of my professional career. I'd put a lot of pressure on myself to get the results that I thought, I needed to get. Very much, goal-oriented. And somehow in my mind, I sort of thought, well, I'm 6 months into professional career, but I should beat anyone who's not professional. That's kind of not how it works. So I'd lost to this older player. He was in his late 30s at my club, in the club champs. And I was playing him again in a derby match. There were 2 league sides in the first league, and he was in the opposite side, and I was opposite number. And so I was playing him. I was like, okay, so I'm under pressure here. I really felt the pressure. I felt the fear of losing. I felt like everyone at the club's going to be looking at me and judging me. So the ego was going into overdrive. Somehow I managed to just quiet my mind. I went for a walk late afternoon because it was an evening fixture. And I remember just going, okay, just let my sister actually was with me. And she said, just enjoy it, just relax, enjoy it. So I went for a walk. I just kind of enjoyed the walk. It was quite a nice evening. And I managed to stay in that very calm state. I didn't think about what I was going to do, how I was going to play. And part of my mind was like wanting to plan it all and strategize. No, you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a strategy. But with a lot of effort, I managed to just keep really empty. And I went onto this court in this totally empty state. And I played amazing. I probably played the most amazing match in my life. It just happened through me. And this is exactly what Eckhart Tolle describes here. It's a power and intelligence much greater than me took over. It just happened through me. I wasn't really doing it. And I played amazingly. I couldn't, maybe made 1 or 2 mistakes, but it really didn't bother me. It's just like, and I completely reversed the result. I beat him very easy. I think he got 4 points. And I remember him coming off afterwards and said, well, geez, if you play like that, you'll challenge some of the top guys in the country. But it wasn't about the result. That was the interesting thing. It really wasn't about the winning. It was about the process of it. And I remember feeling such joy and such upliftment in my heart having done this. It's like, wow, like I'd broken through all of that fear and that mental constriction to another level. And I never went back to that same kind of fearful, constricted state. So it really did change my whole career, and in fact changed my life. And maybe I wouldn't be teaching what I'm teaching now if I hadn't done it, because I think it put me on a path of like, okay, there's something beyond the normal way of thinking and the normal way of doing anything, of playing. And I started later in life, I started applying that to my to everything I did. So this is another little case study. A guy called Vim, who did the first course I ran, he posted this on the Facebook group. About a week into the course, 2 weeks into the course, posted this. And it just describes an experience where he was playing tennis. So a social match of tennis, so nothing competitive, but in his mind, he'd made it competitive. And he really wanted to beat this friend, and he was playing with, who was slightly better than him, and really wanted to win a set off him, but he got irritated, he got frustrated, he got irritated, and it all escalated and snowballed, and things went from bad to worse. He made a lot of mistakes. He said the whole match became a very unpleasant experience. If ever you've played sport and you get into a bad frame of mind, and it's an individual sport especially, you'll know. You just want to like sink into the ground, because it's the worst place to be in the world. So he had that experience, and he posted this in the Facebook group, and I then shared with him some of these principles in one of our discussion sessions, and I taught him a little bit of breathing, just how to watch his breath, and I shared my experience on the squash court with him. And to his credit, he applied it. The next week, he completely reversed the experience. He just centered himself, he breathed. And this is what he said. I experienced peace. I played much better. I aimed just to take a set off the guy, but I actually beat him in 3 sets, which I've never done before. Realized that it wasn't about competition and winning. It was really about the experience. I was in flow. I really enjoyed it, and I was at peace while he was playing tennis. And it's extraordinary, ordinary again. Experienced God's pleasure in me. He's actually a chaplain in the army, so he's religious, but he studied A Course in Miracles. Experienced God's pleasure in me that day. Also learned that I can choose to let go of anger, which doesn't work, and be at peace instead. So there's all the elements of flow there. He was happy. He was enjoying it. He got a good outcome, although that wasn't what it was really about. And he learned something profound about himself. He learned that he can choose to let go of anger. He said anger is one of his issues, which obviously doesn't work. He experienced that the week before. And be at peace instead, and enjoy it and get a much better outcome. So all the elements of flow in that extraordinary, ordinary experience. And then the key to wonderful well-being, which is really what true success is as well. I use them interchangeably. So learning how to be happy and in flow in every aspect of your life, and live an extraordinary, ordinary life that gives you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. And I think if you're living this kind of a life, you're happy and in flow in every aspect, you make the ordinary experiences extraordinary, and you're in flow, and you're able to extend that to others, then I don't think anyone could argue that you're not successful. I think this is the gold standard of success, in my view. So another case study, this is Robin. Robin, when she did the first course, was in her late 40s. And at the end of the course, this is what she had to say, a brief summary of her benefits. So I have peace, much less anxiety, I sleep better, don't take painkillers anymore for stress, headaches, really. She's better relationships with her children. She's got a couple of teenagers, and just not as frightened or worried. And subsequently, she's continued on this path. So Robin was seeking. She was really looking for a way out of a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and this introduced her to A Course in Miracles. She's still on it. She's still in the Art of Letting Go community, and I'll let her share with you just briefly. She kindly gave me this testimonial. This was about 8-9 months after the Art of Letting Go course, which is a 6-week course, finished. This is what she had to say. So I'll just let you listen to this. And I'm just going to go to the toilet quickly.
I did the course last year with Jonathan. I'd never heard of the course before. Something entirely different to me, although I've been practicing meditation. I've been going to breathworks for some time, trying genuinely to find peace. I'm a mum, I work, I've got a normal busy life. I've been plagued with headaches, I've been plagued with sore necks and the normal problems that people have. I found that through the course and joining the online community, I found a group of like-minded people all exploring the course. The course is fundamentally different. At first I thought it was all about religion, which it wasn't. Although it is about God, and I do believe in God, and it made a great deal of sense in my life that the only thing is really that we concentrate on is God. It's about finding love. It's about being kinder to people. I still listen to the teachings every day. I've found that by listening to the teachings and following the book and reading, I have become more compassionate. I've become a nicer person. I feel less guilty. I feel that the world is a different place. I don't feel that the world is always a good place. It's not. But I believe that it impacts me less. I used to be traumatized by the world. I used to lie awake and worry about things that are happening and my children and my life and worry about my past and worry about the future. I've found that I've achieved a sense of peace. And if nothing else, I'm really grateful to Jono and the people I met on the course because that sense of peace helped me to heal many parts of my life. I no longer have headaches. I used to suffer headaches. I used to have terrible neck pain. I was on painkillers all the time. And honestly, those things have gone away. I don't take painkillers, my neck, I don't have headaches anymore. My relationships with my children are much better. And my relationship with myself is a lot better. So in all, it's taken over the daily edges of life, and it's just made life more bearable. And if you think I'd be probably going to be here for a long time, so if it continues to get more bearable, and as I say, each day I learn a new lesson, and it does make life a little different and a little bit better, and I see things a little bit more clearly. And that to me has been the biggest gift.
So thank you to Robin for sharing that. As I said, she's still part of the community, and she's on a path now. She's a lot happier. She said recently to me, she said, if I hadn't done this course, I'd be absolutely freaking out now because her husband's got locked down and he's in another city, so she's having to manage her kids on her own. And it's been quite disruptive, but she just flowed with it. So where to from here? So I've shared a lot of information, which hopefully you've learned something. But learning new information is a necessary, but not a sufficient step for true transformation of mind to happen. And there's really two ways to what I call true transformation. First is through intense pain or suffering. You're forced to go within and break through suddenly to a new level of understanding and wisdom. That's the way of the cross, the hard way, the old way. Eckhart Tolle is a good example of someone who went through that. He was suicidally depressed in his late 20s. One night lying awake going, I really can't stand myself anymore. And he thinks that thought, and then what his mind goes, but hang on, maybe there's an I, like a real I, and there's another self that's false. And so in that moment, he kind of saw the split in his mind, and he describes it as going to some kind of vortex of energy. It was so intense, and he just passed out. Fortunately, he was in bed. Woke up the next morning, and he just sees the light. He sees light in everything, and he's free of that very heavy, what he calls pain body, that he had his whole life. But he had to go through a lot of emotional pain and suffering to get to that point. So that's a pretty unusual experience that someone does it in one night. The second way is through conscious, disciplined practice of spiritual ideas and techniques. You systematically grow in understanding and wisdom. I'm back in. Sorry about that. I dropped out there for a minute. Don't know what happened. Something to do with the internet. So I'm glad you're still here. Okay. So where were we? I was sharing my screen, so I'm just going to have to do that again. Screen share. Okay. So I was talking about the way of mastery. And this is also a very ancient path. There's many teachers who've taught this. It's been going on for thousands of years. Spiritual practices. Yoga was probably the first kind of spiritual transformation system that was invented. So principles of transformation through mastery. First of all, it's about understanding and realization through your personal experience. It does require your active willingness and disciplined effort. Doing key spiritual practices like letting go, breathing, meditation, etc., the other 4 techniques that I shared, regularly is essential. It can be greatly facilitated by another person or group who help to raise the initiates. I'm using transformational language there, because if you're on a path like this, you are an initiate. By consciousness, by transmitting positive energy and holding him or her accountable. So even via Zoom doesn't necessarily mean you have to physically be there, but there's a transmission of energy that's gone on tonight. So hopefully you felt some of that positive energy. And if you're in a group and you're in a process with a group, and there's a sense of accountability. That's just the way we work. We're social creatures as human beings. There's a sense of, oh, I want to be part of this, and kind of do what the rest of the group is doing. And that is a very important factor that helps someone to do this. If you're trying to do this on your own, a lot of people fail because there's no accountability and they just don't have the self-discipline to do a discipline program themselves. And then you've got immersion in the key spiritual practices and a positive field of consciousness that greatly accelerates it. So those are some of the principles on which this course that I've mentioned a couple of times, the Art of Letting Go course, is based. It's a facilitated 6-week mind and life transformation process. It's based on the way of mastery and immersion learning. So I'm just going to put Carol on mute. Carol, there's quite a lot of scratching and stuff going on there, so I'm just going to mute you. It's a transformation process based on the way of mastery and on immersion learning. Key spiritual practices include online discussion, meditation sessions, conscious breathing, self-study, as well as solo meditation. The goal is to help you to learn to let go of fearful, stressful thoughts and emotions whenever they arise, so that you can find, and these are the results: authentic happiness, the same results as the secrets I shared earlier. You'll know how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation provoking them appears to be, and choose to be happy instead. Well, that is a major, major life skill. That's something that very few people have mastered. But it is the key to happiness, as I shared. There's no other way of being authentically happy. So just share some testimonials from people who've done the course. This is Debbie. She joined us earlier for the meditation, if you recall. She said it helped me to see my subconscious patterns that stopped me from doing things in my life that are good for me, like yoga, meditating, etc. That revelation has been huge. I'm very grateful that I did your course. It's given me a great deal to think about. And Debbie's been working with the Course in Miracles for nearly a decade, and she's facilitated a group herself. Makes forgiveness seem so simple. This was Chi-Chi, who did the second course. Learning how to forgive truly. I shared Phil's experience. Hazel, who joined us earlier, doing exercise 9, inspired decision making. So this is one of the exercises that you do as group work during the course. And I experienced a feeling of expanding energy radiating from my heart center, which I've never experienced before. Energy felt like pure love, which was exhilarating to the point of me being wide awake all night. What a stunning experience, which will stay with me for the rest of my life. So this kind of thing can happen. I can't guarantee it, but when you do these kinds of processes, some pretty amazing experiences can happen. And there's Lebo, learning to sort out issues with another mind, which is really your true mind. what the Course calls the Holy Spirit. It's your higher self, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. It's just using it and applying it to give you peace of mind and letting go of guilt and resentment. So the second result is fulfilling flow in your daily activities. As I said, this is really where the rubber meets the road. So it's about knowing how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. So a couple of testimonials around that. This is Lauren. It's from the US, did the first course. Said, I had a trip coming up. Had a few things to do the day before. Felt that I didn't have enough time to get it all done, so she was a little bit stressed. She used the deep diaphragmatic breaths that she learned during the course throughout the day, morning and afternoon. No mantras, no thoughts, just deep breaths. I'd sent in one of my emails that controlling the breath controls the mind. And I lived on that yesterday. My mind was at peace. That all I wanted to do was zero mental fuss or chatter. Peace is real for me these days. Thank you. And then this is Marie, who did the second course, breath breaks. She talking about the breath breaks, feel totally relaxed and connected. So you might have been receiving those. Teresa, have you been getting those? I think you're on one of the groups. I send these.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I have, but I've been working. I've been so busy at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't, but I have got them. Yeah.
Okay. So the idea is just to interrupt your normal busy mind pattern and give you a little time out, 10 to 15 minutes, just to take a little pause. And as part of the course, you'll get those frequently. I send you 4 times in the day. You don't have to do them all, but they're available. And obviously, you've got the recordings. So if ever at any point you need a little meditation, well, just look on your phone. You'll have loads of them to go to.
Because I have got the next 3 days off, so I am planning on going back to them.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, try listening to some of them. So wonderful well-being. So this is experiencing more happiness and flow in every aspect of your life. So it's all-encompassing, living an extraordinary, ordinary life. So you carry on with your day, what you're doing, you're working. This isn't saying you have to go and climb Mount Everest or anything. Although you might be inspired to do something like that, who knows? But it's about just being extraordinary in the ordinary experiences of your life, and having miraculous experiences, having experiences where you're in flow, and where you can get some pretty extraordinary results. That can happen when you do this kind of work. If we have time at the end, I'll share some of the things I've experienced that have come about, which really boggled my mind. They just defied all the laws of time and space. So if we have time at the end, I'll share that, because I want to just get finished with the bulk of this in the next 20 minutes. So the formula for true success is happiness and peace, even under pressure. So there's Martin. He's a busy CEO. He runs a medium-sized company, an accounting practice. So he had a situation with a client, which is quite common if you're in business. Put the phone down, and he just applied these principles. He replaced it with peace. And the key thing was, he said, I would have found peace whether he apologized or not, because the client apologized the next day. Very powerful stuff, this. Fulfilling flow and a sense of higher purpose. So I realized it wasn't about competition and winning. It was really about the experience. I was in flow. I really enjoyed it, and I was at peace. I experienced God's pleasure in me that day. This was Vim's experience on the tennis court, and he realized that he can choose to let go of anger, which doesn't work, and be at peace instead, and that equals a more successful life. So peace, less anxiety, sleeps better, off the drugs, not taking painkillers, better relationships. Their children are just not as frightened or worried, and that's continued for Robin. So this is Oprah, as you're probably familiar with some of her stuff. She said, don't worry about being successful, work towards being significant, and the success will naturally follow. And by that word significant, she was meaning being someone who's connected with themselves. And in another interview, she said that self-awareness is the key to her success. So, in other words, this idea of being well, being connected to who you really are, leads to this some really what can be amazing results. Even if you don't do what Oprah's done and make billions of dollars. The fact is being the best version of yourself. That's the whole point, in living your life as best you possibly can. So just to summarize, result 1, you'll be authentically happy by knowing how to let go of any negative thoughts or emotions, no matter how challenging the situation, provoking them appears to be. Be happy instead. You'll do your daily activities in flow, so you'll know how to remain poised and enjoy the moment while taking positive action to respond to any situation appropriately. And number 3, you'll experience fulfillment, higher purpose, and wonderful well-being, all of which is true success, by just being happy and in flow in every aspect of your life, and living an extraordinary, ordinary life that gives you and others, not just about you, it's about sharing your happiness and your joy with others, giving you and others miraculous experiences and results regularly. So it's it's sort of counterintuitive to the ego, but actually the more we let go of our desire for a certain result, the more likely we are to get a really amazing result that surprises us and that really fills us with joy. And we can't actually be disappointed at, because we didn't really expect anything to start with. So can you see why letting go is the critical skill? It starts with this idea of letting go. If you can let go, then you can find authentic happiness. Authentic happiness leads to fulfilling flow. Fulfilling flow leads to fulfillment, higher purpose, and a sense of well-being, all of which is true success. But if you can't let go, then forget being happy, because there's going to be constant grievances, constant upset, constant drama. And without happiness, you can't find flow, because that's the underlying state of flow. And there's no fulfillment, higher purpose, or well-being if you're not happy and in flow. In fact, quite the opposite. Everything's kind of ground out. You sense of no purpose, a sense of futility. There's no fulfillment, and over time, if you keep in that negative energy state, you will get sick. There's not going to be any well-being, and your physical body is going to suffer. Your physical health is going to suffer. Okay, so who does this work for? So anyone over the age of about 30. And the reason I say that, I mean, if you were 29, you wanted to do this, I wouldn't say no. But the reason I say that is until about 30, we're all on a program where we're externally oriented. We're learning about the world. We think that something out there is going to make us happy. Whether that's the ideal person, we want to find a mate, we want to find the right career, the right job, we want to make more money. This is the program until we're 30. Some people it goes on till 40, 50, but generally until 30, it's common that you're looking outside of yourself for something. So I think you're all over 30, so that's not really a factor. And what's brought you here is really the search for authentic happiness, for more flow in your daily life, for a sense of fulfillment, higher purpose, and well-being. And you really need to be willing to open your mind to a very different way of thinking. You're not going to get a different result if you keep thinking the same way. So the course is a very different way of thinking, a very radically different way of thinking. Just be open to it, and you're not going to master that in 6 weeks, but it's going to give you an opening into a very different way of thinking and a very different way of life. Commit at least 2 hours per day to doing the course, ideally to get the most out of it. You could spend more time. There's a lot of content in it. But if you want to get the most out of it, and I'll talk about how you can actually fit that into your day if you're really busy, because it's about integrating it into your day, not saying, well, I need to take 6 weeks off. That's not really feasible. Although some people have had 6 weeks off during this lockdown, which is unusual, but it's not feasible on an ongoing basis. So the 7 key spiritual practices, just to remind you. It's the multidimensional meditation. I give you a guided letting go meditation to do every morning. It's a 1 hour version, 40 minutes and a half hour version. If you can spend an hour, that's great. If you can only do 40 minutes or half an hour, then do those. And that's in the morning, first thing in the morning. I'm going to give you a lot of letting go processes. There's a 10-step letting go process that I promised you, which I'll send you tomorrow for staying for the duration of this. And that's included plus 5 other shorter letting go techniques in the manual, course manual that I give you. Breath and mind training breaks. So you're going to get a number of these. You're actually going to get 2 that are part of the course. And then I'm going to send you another 2 that are just part of the community, which are another WhatsApp group. So you get 4 a day. If you can only do the 2, well, that's pretty good. You're going to get group discussion sessions. So we do a live one every Sunday evening, and you're going to get a recorded one from the last course I did, which are about 90 minutes, some a bit longer, some a bit shorter, that are available Monday to Saturday. So every day there's a discussion session you can listen to, and you can listen to these while you're doing other things. So Carol's still with us. Carol, you walk. So you listen to stuff while you cooking, chopping vegetables. You can really integrate this into doing a lot of things that you're already doing, because I give you the audio as well as the video. You're going to read 1 lesson from the Course in Miracles workbook in the morning, and 1 section of Course in Miracles text. So that's somewhere between 2 and 4 pages every day. There's 4 powerful questions to ask yourself and answer at the end of every day. There's a pre-bed relaxation process, and I'll give you a meditation track to help you with that, as well as a little audio recording to guide you through that process. So those 7 key spiritual practices I mentioned are integrated into the course. In terms of the structure, week 1 is an introductory week. It's just about starting to understand the theory behind the course. So that's basically the theory of A Course in Miracles. And we'll read the first chapter of the Course in Miracles text. We'll work through exercises 1 to 3 in the course manual. And weeks 2 to 6, we start with the workbook. You carry on reading the chapters. You're going to work through the rest of the exercises in the course manual. So these are all very practical, experiential exercises. And the holotropic breathing session to conclude. So dates and times. Sunday the 7th of June is the start of the next course, end on Sunday the 19th of July. So it's 6 weeks and 1 day, to be exact. Ends just before the summer holidays, ready to start in earnest in the UK. They're live meditations every day, 12:30 and 5 p.m. Sometimes they're at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. We do them a little bit later. The live discussion session on Sunday evenings that incorporates the meditation. And you'll get the following tools. So I'm going to give you a course information exercise pack, or course manuals, I call it for short, which includes a 10-step letting go process, some shorter letting go process to help you do quick release, and documents to help you understand the theory of letting go. There's a worksheet for the naming of game exercise, which is a very powerful exercise. It makes this all very personal. It helps you to identify what your game is. And unless you do that, it's all kind of theoretical. Once you do that, then you can actually turn it around and find this blueprint for your higher self and your purpose. So those are exercises that follow on from that. There's a number of extra transformational mind training exercises. 12 pathways to higher consciousness. There's a map of consciousness to help you to just be aware of where you are in your mind. A daily schedule planner. We'll actually send you a schedule every day during the 6 weeks of the course, but you can use that as well, and you can use it after the course. Help you to structure your ideal day, and a lot of inspirational quotes, even some poetry. So some really good stuff in there. It's 50 pages that are densely packed with information and exercises and processes. So that's a £20 value. Then you're going to get the Letting Go Meditation Power Pack, which I've developed. This is the multi-dimensional meditation I talked about earlier. So it includes touching, toning, a lot of breathing, color visualization, working with the chakras. There's about 4 or 5 using binaural beats, so you're listening with stereo headphones. It's 4 or 5 different modalities there to really help you to go deeper. And as Mike said, he did the first course. Model of daily meditation is a really good one, gets everyone really engaged, helps to make you feel that you're completely immersed. The idea of immersion learning. You really immerse yourself in this process for 6 weeks. And when you do that for a couple of hours a day over 6 weeks, you're going to see some results. That's how transformation works. Problem with a lot of courses is they'll go, yeah, you know, there's one video or something that you're going to get access to a week, so maybe that's 2 hours a week, and maybe there's some live Q&A, maybe you get 2 or 3 hours a week. Well, that's probably not really going to transform your consciousness, if you're honest about it. You might learn a few ideas, but this is about transforming the way you think and you perceive in 6 weeks, and really setting you on a different track for the rest of your life. I give you, speaking of tracks, the Power Sleep track. It's 40 minutes, so you can listen to this before you go to bed, and it tends to help you go to sleep more easily and sleep more deeply. As Patricia says there, woke up refreshed and a willingness to start a new day. Thank you, of course, for finding it most helpful. So that's a £20 value. Then there's the holotropic breathing I've talked about. So this is a process that was created by a guy called Stanislav Grof, and he started experimenting with the effects of LSD on consciousness in the 60s. He was a psychiatrist, and then they banned it. So he started to try and achieve the same effects with breathing, and he found this was even more powerful. So it's a transformational experience. Really is a mind-blowing experience, as this lady says. Joanne's is someone in the UK who did it. Absolutely loved it, a mind-blowing experience. She's not exaggerating when she says that. It'll take you into a state of consciousness that unless you've done acid or something, you probably won't have experienced in your whole life. And it can take you into the past. It can take you into pre-birth, past lives. All kinds of experiences can happen. And then there was Phil's breakthrough experience, which was really the catalyst for it, was the holotropic breathing that triggered that cathartic experience he had. So I was charging £15 for that session in the UK when I was running them. 6 weeks access to the Facebook group. So there's a Facebook group where I post the live meditations, all the recordings of the discussion sessions. There's probably a couple of 100 hours of material in here. So if you really want more than I want to send you by email every day, there's lots there. As Mbali, who did the first course, how withdrawal symptoms, she said how withdrawal symptoms, didn't realize just how spoiled I'd become with trying to posting lessons and reminders every day. I'm already missing it. So that's a £43 value, so £1 a day. You're going to get 2 daily reminder emails to give you the lessons and the text from A Course in Miracles to read every day, plus some handy links to resources. So I give you some bonus discussion sessions, some bonus videos to watch. So Lynn said, thanks for all your emails. 2 daily reminder emails. So that's £1 a day. I valued that. You're going to get 4 audio recordings of these short breath breaks. So that can be anything from a few minutes. I'm actually splitting them now into 2. So you'll get 6 separate recordings, which you can do. Or a longer meditation. So the meditation I just did, often in the evening, it's 20 or 25 minutes. I send it via WhatsApp to the group. So you get all of that every day, and you can use those as you can. You integrate them into your life. The idea is just to help you to pause and kind of interrupt your normal pattern. There's a longer evening meditation every day. And also practice. They help you to actually practice the daily lesson from A Course in Miracles that you'll be doing. As Nadia said, I love these reminders. I'm busy scurrying around, lost in thoughts. This reminder is extremely helpful for me to take a pause, return to the here and now, stop freaking out. Like I said before, the one technique actually stopped a panic attack, which was amazing for her. So I literally sent it to her, and she said she was in the middle of a panic attack, and she just listened to it. And The thing is with deep breathing, if you do deep breathing, you really can't get panicked. It completely undoes any kind of panic and any fight or flight response mode when you're doing deep breathing. So it's a very, very powerful stuff. They're very simple, but they're powerful. So 4 breath break or meditation recordings via WhatsApp. And then you're going to get around about 80 hours. I haven't actually worked this out exactly, but there's about 80 hours of recorded discussion sessions from the second course I did, because I was doing 2 a day on some days. 15 hours of live discussion sessions. So that's every Sunday. You can join those. They're normally about 2 hours, sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit shorter. About 35 hours of live meditation sessions. The meditations in the afternoon are typically 15 to 20 minutes, evening 20 minutes to half an hour. So somewhere around 35 hours over the 43 days. So it comes to 130 plus hours roughly of recorded on live discussion and meditation sessions. Now, don't be daunted. If you don't get through all of this, you don't listen to all the 80 hours, that's okay, but it's available for you if you want to listen to it. The live discussion, the same with the live meditations. Ideally, you attend the live discussion sessions because those are only once a week on a Sunday, but you do what you can in this. And it's all posted on the Facebook group, so you can access it all immediately. Most of the time I stream it live, Facebook, so it's immediately posted automatically in there. So this is just Mike's kind of overall picture on the course. Mike is from the UK. We really like doing the 2 calls a day. I think your teaching is very good. Clearly, I've invested a lot of study into able to discuss at length there and engage everyone. So he's talking about the discussion session. So in this course, we were doing a discussion session every day. Now I'm just giving you the recording so you can listen to them anytime. You do a great job of keeping the flow, finding an aspect to talk about. Any of your takes are very enlightening, really do respect, impressed by your drive, teaching skills. Thank you, Mike. Very flattering. I think your process is amazing and yielded great results for me. The in-call meditations are really amazing. Find your meditation practice into one with the course content really works well. So that's what I do in the live sessions. Just weave in what's the lesson for the day from A Course in Miracles with the meditation. And he says these little guided meditations and the lesson for today often show me things I would not have picked up before. They give the space to view it differently. Most of all, I've really enjoyed being connected with people all over the world and hearing different perspectives from everyone. So and there's a powerful dynamic in doing the course material together as a group and sharing energy, so you truly believe in the course's message. So so valued that at £10 an hour, plus you can get a bunch of free bonuses. So if that's not enough, there's about 70 hours of video and audio recordings of discussion sessions during the first Art of Letting Go trial course that I ran in 2018. And there's all the sessions, the community sessions since November. It's all available there. If you want to, you can go and you can watch those. There's audio recordings posted on a new one, so you can download and listen to the audio recordings. And as Robin said, I download and listen to the audio session each day en route to work. So she was just listening to the audios. She's working, just being in the session that way and listening to what's said and shared collapses time for me. All the negative stressful thoughts that used to preoccupy my mind, that commute are now not there. I'm listening and applying the ideas. So that's a good example of how you can use these resources I'm going to give you. You can get the audio. There's the Facebook group again. You can get the audio tracks, and so I value that at £10 an hour as well. And then there's about 30 hours of audio recordings of guided meditations, £150 value. So those are also available in the Facebook group. And I'm going to give you an additional 3 months access. So before the course starts, if you decide to sign up, I'll give you the access. And then after the course, if you want to go and revisit some of the material, you can access it in Facebook. You'll also have the emails. There'll be links in the emails, but some people like Facebook. So if that's a good platform for you, then you've got access to it for 3 months. And then I post a whole lot of other stuff. So some talks by people like Eckhart Tolle and Joe Dispenza, some really interesting stuff in there. So totally, if you total that all up, it comes to nearly £2,500. Don't freak out though. I'm not going to suggest you pay me that. The total value of the course is that. So just I'll give you a 90% discount on that, £247 normal investment. But I've decided to give away a free trial. So the first 3 weeks is free. That means that you get a free trial discount with £100. And given the fact that it's locked down and we're in a situation where some people aren't earning income, decided to just give a little extra discount, £40 on that, plus an upfront payment discount of £10. So if you decide to pay, then you get an extra £10, which comes to £97, which is valid until the end of May. I might just change that lockdown discount and it'll go up after that. That's over 96% discount to value. Really, it's not about the money. I just, given that there's a monetary value to this, I've tried to show you that the value is there. But the real value is priceless. You can't really put a value on your happiness, on your flow, on your well-being. These are things that are beyond money. So what might be some of the roadblocks that you encounter? And actually, we're having these in, I don't know if you're having these in the UK, but we're having these in South Africa. They're blocking the roads, and it's not very good. I've kind of gone away from the city, so I haven't encountered any of this, but let's try and get rid of the roadblock. It's interesting, it won't go. It's quite funny, the roadblock won't leave. It's kind of what a roadblock is. You still there, Teresa?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. So,
Okay. Yeah.
So you might not think you have the time. So, well, one of the ways to create more time is to watch an hour's less TV in the evening. If you watch TV, switch off the.
I don't have TV. I don't watch TV.
You don't. No, well, that's a very good thing. Go to bed an hour earlier. Maybe you social media, surf the internet, these kinds of things. It's often easy to get sucked into that. So if you just do an hour's less of that, and get up an hour earlier to meditate in the morning, that's a very good trade-off. Integrating these other key spiritual practices into your daily routine to make you more effective and productive. So taking breath breaks when you need a break, listening to discussion sessions while you're doing other activities such as driving, eating, cooking, and walking. That's how you can listen to an hour and a half discussion session while you're just doing other stuff. So those are a couple of ideas for using what time's available to you in the day. I'm not ready for this yet. Well, if you're over 30, I'd say that's just an excuse to avoid taking responsibility for your own happiness, flow, fulfillment, purpose, and well-being and success. No one else is really responsible. Only you can do this for yourself. I think we all kind of know that. Sometimes it's just worth pointing it out. Life isn't going to last forever. 20 years pass very quickly. So share a little story from someone close to me. My sister happens to be about 25 years ago. She had this idea. She wanted to write a book, a romance novel, actually. And she started off with great gusto. And over 25 years, she managed to distract herself and get busy with all kinds of other stuff. And so 2.5 decades passed. And finally, she's actually just finished the first 3 chapters, and she submitted it, which I'm very, very happy for. But it just shows you just how quickly, like 20 years went by, 25 years went by, like half, that's a good portion of her life. Doing other stuff, just distracting herself, doing other stuff. She was working, and there's always something else to do, isn't there? But what we really should be doing, which is our transformation. So carpe diem, now's the time, seize the day is the message. And I'll give you all the tools and support you need to do this. So you're not on your own. Typically, if people try to do transformation on their own, they often fail because it's quite difficult to stay on a program like this without some kind of support and some kind of external help. So in the form of, you know, a facilitator like myself and the emails and the recordings and so on. Without those reminders, well, it's very difficult to stick to a kind of a 6-week transformation program on your own, in my experience and in most people's experience. So I can't afford this. That might be another roadblock. Money can be an obstacle. So, well, first of all, I'd say it's your happiness, flow, success, fulfillment, purpose in life. If you don't invest in yourself in your life, what you're really saying is that you're not worth it. And that's the whole problem. That's actually what we're trying to overcome with the course. I think everyone fundamentally has at the root of their ego a lack of self-esteem. And so then we devalue ourselves by saying, well, I'm not worth it, so, you know, I'm not worth doing it. Truth is that action is the most powerful form of affirmation. So if you actually act on an idea, then you're saying, I really believe it. So if you pay for the course, what you're telling yourself is that you're worth it. So it's actually a key part of the whole process, transformation process, and it ensures that you value and pay attention to what you're learning as well. Often if people get stuff for free, they might think, well, if it's free, there's no value to it. If you've paid for it, then you tend to pay attention. That's just how human nature is. So your free trial voucher entitles you to a 3-week free trial or a money-back guarantee after 3 weeks. So you can do it either way. You can either say, look, I don't want to pay anything up front. I just don't want to do the 3-week free trial. I'm going to give this a go. If I like it after 3 weeks, I'd like to continue. I'll pay the £107. Or you want to get the £10 off. If you really want to immerse yourself in this, you want to go all in. You pay the money up front. It's £97, and you get a £10 discount for paying up front. And there's a money back guarantee. So if any time in the first 3 weeks you're not happy, you go, this really isn't for me, for whatever reason, I'd like to know the reason. So all I ask is that you share the reason with me. Just send me an email and say, look, you know, this is the reason, why not? But I'll happily give you your money back, because I don't want to take anyone's money if they're not happy, not 100% happy. A good example of this, a case study, if you like, was Mike. You saw some of his testimonials earlier. He actually got a lot out of the course. But about 19 days into the course, Mike kind of hit a roadblock, and he said, no, you know, this isn't for me. I've already got a belief system that I believe in. It was Western mysticism or something. He was on some kind of spiritual path, and this contradicted it. A lot of ideas contradicted it. So he said, like, I can't continue, even though I felt like I've got a lot of benefit from it. And, you know, he dropped out of the course. So as a result, I put this 3-week free trial in place. I said, get 3 weeks, give it a try. That's enough time for you to establish whether this is for you or not, whether it's going to work for you or not. And if you don't want to continue, no hard feelings. You know, you gave it a go. At least you tried, and you'll get a lot of, hopefully still have got a lot of benefit out, as Mike did. And you get to keep all the resources I give you. So you get to keep the Letting Go meditation pack, valued at £20, the Art of Letting Go course manual, valued at £20, 6 weeks access to the Art of Letting Go Facebook group. All of that, you know, is valued at over £100, free. So, you know, it's my gift to you. If you want to try this, I'll give you all these resources and these tools. If it doesn't work for you, you keep the tools. You've lost nothing except some of your time. But I don't think you can ever really lose if you do this kind of thing, because you will learn something. I'm sure Mike did learn quite a lot, and he may well come back to this path. I know he's still interested in A Course in Miracles. So it gave him something that he didn't have before, a window into another teaching. You can also pay a £400 accountability deposit, do the entire course free. So there are a couple of qualifications. First, to qualify to get your deposit back, you need to attend at least 5 live discussion sessions, including the introductory and closing ones, attend at least 20 live meditation sessions, complete all 11 exercises. Actually, sorry, there's 12 exercises. Let's change that. 12 exercises in the course manual. Do an online questioning after the course finishes, and give me about a 10-minute video recorded testimonial, which you're happy for me to use for marketing purposes. So there's some criteria there, but then I'm giving a whole lot of value for free. So that may or may not work for you. What this will make you do is really do the course properly. if you do this, and that's the idea. So there's a couple of solutions there. You don't have to pay anything up front, money back guarantee, or you can pay £400 and do the entire course for free. Try to make it as accessible as possible. So just to close off, I'm going to mention this quote again because I think it's a beautiful one, from Marianne Williamson, who really studied the courses based on the Course in Miracles teachings. She said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. You're playing small. It doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We're born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And it's a beautiful quote. I read it every day because it really just reminds me what it's all about. This is what it's about. This is why I'm here. This is my entire purpose on this planet, encapsulated in these very, very powerful words. So if you feel the call, I hope you do, then sign up to the course, do it. To get started now, take advantage of the early bird discount, £10, pay up front, go to that web address. I'll send it to you, I'll email it to you, and I'll stick it in the chat as well at the end of this session. Early bird special, £97. If you want to do it with a partner or a friend, and they do it with you, sign up with you, it's £175, so there's an extra discount in there, extra 10% couple discount. And there's just a summary of the value. So I've tried to include as much value as possible. There's a lot of extra value. As I said, it's not really about the money, but if you were valuing this, there is a lot of value there, in the thousands of pounds. And I've tried to make it as reasonably affordable and as accessible as possible. So Journey of 1,000 Miles begins with a single step. That's Lao Tzu, famous Chinese sage who is behind Taoism. Just to summarize, so you can go there to book your place online. If you want to just do the free course, you can either sign up. There's a pop-up form on there. You can pay online. I just need to activate a couple of things. So if you want to pay, just give me till tomorrow to do it. But to accept major debit and credit cards, Visa, Mastercard, American Express. You can also do a direct transfer into my UK account. I have a UK account. That's if you prefer that. Or if you want to do the 3-week free trial, you can just let me know now verbally, or you can drop me an email if you want to think about it, or you can go on there and just fill in the form that pops up. And there's also a one-to-one coaching option, which I haven't really talked about. But if you do want some hand-holding through the process, I can do that as well, like one coaching session per week, hours coaching, and there's an extra charge for that. So that brings me to the end. All I'll say is, which way will you choose? This is famous pull scene in The Matrix. Have you watched that movie?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. Well, that's one of the things I recommend doing in the course, part of the course program. So there's a famous scene at the end where, well, midway through the movie, where he gives Neo, who's the hero of the story, he gives him this choice. He says, you want to take the red pill? You take the red pill, you wake up, and I'll show you how far down you go down the rabbit hole with me. And I'll show you how far down the rabbit hole you go. And if you take the blue pill, you just forget all of this and you carry on as believe whatever you want to believe. So the red pill is the activating one. Okay, this is going to wake you up. So just listen to this. Just listen to these to this song. It's a great song to close this off. In the air I taste,
this morning. That's when you and I become. That's when you and I become. You and me, you and me, that's one. This feeling is true. Look into my eyes. All I see is you. That's when you and I become. You and me, that's one. That's when you and I become. You and me, that's one. You and me, that's one. Till the end of the till the end of
So I hope that was a nice little message to end with. Really, it's about joining, and this is ultimately about finding the oneness in our own minds and hearts. I hope you found a little taste or glimpse of that tonight. And it's time for me to stop talking. You got any questions?
No, just a lot to think about. Oh, not a lot to think about. No,
Okay.
no, just yeah, no, it all makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Would you like to do the course then?
I'm gonna, to be honest, I'm, because it's gone a bit longer than I thought, and I've got to be up really early in the morning, and I'm just conscious I've got to be up early in the morning. But I would like to do the course. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Would you like to just do the 3-week free trial, or do you want to pay up front and get the £10 extra discount?
Yeah, I think I'll just pay for it. But I'm not. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow because I've really got to go to bed.
Yeah, sure. I understand. And I apologize, I've gone a bit over time. What is the time actually? It's about 1:30. So I'm half an hour over. I do apologize for that. But
yeah.
I hope it was worthwhile.
Thank you.
I hope it was worthwhile.
Thank you.
And I will send you an email tomorrow.
Well, I have real problems with sleeping as well. So I get really, like at night, I have my wind down time. And I know it's in my head, but I just get really panicky if
you don't have
because I'm such a bad sleeper, and I'm thinking, so that's going to be amazing with the sleep part for me as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll give you the Power Sleep Track. So once you sign up, that's resource available to you straight away. The course only starts on the 7th, but you can start using all the stuff before that. So I find it very helpful. You listen just listen with some stereo headphones, and it kind of takes you into a deeper sort of alpha state where you're much more likely to go to sleep easily. And that's worked for a lot of people. So yeah, welcome aboard. Thank you
so much for all your time.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. And thank you for staying till the end.
I wish we could have seen your dog though.
Okay, sorry.
I wish we could have met your doggy though.
Oh, well, you can see her if you want. She's still here. I'll show it to you. There we go. Can you see?
Oh yes.
There we go.
Oh, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, on the couch.
Fast asleep.
Yes. Oh, this is where she camps out. I tend to sometimes work quite late. So
what sort is she? What breed is she?
Actually, an Australian. An Australian. She's not my dog. She belongs to the place I'm staying at. So, I mean, you did tell me an Australian.
It's not a Kelpie, is it? Kelpie?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm an Aussie. Yeah.
Okay. So you know. So it's a mix between a dingo and a sheepdog type. Yeah.
Yeah. I could only see the white parts, but when you said Australian, I thought it's probably a.
Yeah, that's right. That's the name. Yeah. I couldn't remember that. So she's lovely, very affectionate. So,
yeah. Oh.
But keeps me company while I work, so it's quite nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Teresa, for staying till the end. So I'll send you an email tomorrow. I'll send you that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's irrelevant because you're going to get all the stuff. So if you didn't sign up, we're still giving you the 10-step process and the half-hour meditation, but you're going to get the whole pack. It's all included in there. I'll send you an email. Check your email tomorrow when you get home from work. There'll be a link. Ideally, just depending on how you want to do it, just do a transfer into my account.
Okay.
If you got a UK account, I assume, so
yeah,
it's probably the easiest. I'll send you the details, and then send you the access to all the material, and you can join the Facebook group, so you can kind of get going. In the meantime, before the course proper starts, the meditations happen twice a day. I'll put you on the Art of Letting Go club group, so you'll get the recordings. So you can kind of start getting into the rhythm of it pre-official course starting.
I am worried that I can fit 2 hours in a day.
Yeah, well, just do what you can, 2 hours I know is a stretch for a lot of people, but if you get up an hour earlier, so that's what I recommend. Try and go to bed a bit earlier, get up an hour earlier and do the meditation. It's actually a substitute for sleep. You go quite deep. So, even if you're getting an hour's less sleep, you probably won't really feel the difference because meditation is a sleep substitute. Takes you very deep. So that's 1 hour of the program. If you can do an hour meditation or half an hour, 40 minutes, I give you the shorter versions of the track as well. And then just like listening to the discussion session. So if you're driving, do you drive or do you get to work?
Yeah.
So you download the audio and listen to the audio track from that day. I send you the email in the morning with the download. So you can do it before you go to work, or you can do it from the previous night. So if you've got a half an hour or an hour commute there and back, that's an hour of listening time. So there's another hour that you fit it in. So there's already your 2 hours. And then just try taking these little breath breaks in the day. So the idea is that you integrate into your day. You don't, not work, but you hit sort of mid-morning or late morning, and you get a breath break via WhatsApp. Take the 5 or 10 minutes, just a timeout, because it actually makes you more effective. It makes you more productive in your day if you do that. It won't seem like, be like, oh, I've got too much to do. But when you're calm and you're centered and you're present, then whatever you do for the next hour is going to be done in a different state of consciousness. And I don't have to tell you, if you're in the wrong frame of mind and you're stressed and you're getting anxious, and whatever you do in that state of mind is not going to be terribly effective. Often you've got to go and redo stuff because you make mistakes, you get things wrong, you say the wrong things. Really, your priority is to keep yourself in that really calm, peaceful, and flowing state. And if you can do that using, using these tools to help you, you might just find actually that it creates more time because you're less stressed. So you're much more effective and more efficient when you're actually operating, when you're doing things. And research has actually shown that the most effective people, the highest performers in any field, what they do is they pulse their energy. So they're not always on. There's no way you can be always operating 100%. They go for a short time. They're quite intensive. While they're performing, they're in a meeting, they're working, they're on the sports field doing whatever they're doing, and then they rest. And then there's like, okay, I need to take some time out. I need to refresh. I need to restore myself. That's the meditation. That's the these letting go processes, and then they're ready to go again once they've done that. So it's getting into a rhythm of like rest, and then you go and you're flowing, and then you rest. And the idea of the breath breaks and so on is just to help you kind of get into some kind of rhythm with it. Because I'm actually sending to you, so they arrive on your phone, and it's a reminder when that happens to do it. And the main thing is do the best you can. So if you do the best you can and you go through the process the best you can, even if you only do half of what would be ideal, you've still done half more than you would have done if you hadn't done anything. So I give you a lot of material, a lot of stuff to work through, and you find a rhythm with it, and do it as best you can. And then forgive yourself, let go of the need or the expectation to do more as well. That's also part of the process. Like, okay, I'm doing what I can do, and I'm actually doing pretty well because I'm actually getting through stuff I wouldn't have done. I'm doing meditation every morning. I'm listening to a couple of breath breaks a day. I'm managing to get in half an hour of the recording while I'm driving. Like, I'm doing pretty well. That's way more than most people are doing on a daily basis. So you're way ahead of the game. And if you can find a rhythm with it and a flow with it during the 6 weeks, it will hopefully establish just a new pattern, a new way of thinking, a new way of living. And that's what transformation is about. So just be willing, go with an open heart and say, okay, I'm willing to go with this process and give it my best shot and do what I can do and not put too much pressure on myself. And that will just one step at a time. It's very easy to kind of go, 6 weeks, 2 hours a day. That's then you start doing the sums in our head. That's like nearly 100 hours. How am I going to do 100 hours in the next 6? No, you're going totally out of the moment and out of the flow. And the process is just moment by moment, day by day. The process kind of works with you, and I guide you through this. You get the emails and you get the breath breaks, and I'll send you the reminders for the live meditation sessions. And if you can do them, great. And if you can't, well, all right, just flow with it. Do what you can. Find your own rhythm with it. So it becomes your course. It's not my course. Kind of right. This is what you have to do. You find a way to work with the material in your own way that fits into your life, which is how all spiritual practice has to really work. It's got to work for you. It's not like right. I think religions are the kind of rigid, right? They're the practices. This is what you got to do, in this order. And that's not what that's not what it's about. It's about finding a way to make it work for you, and finding your flow with it. And if you can do that over the next 6 weeks or 2 months, really, because it's a couple of weeks away from that, then that's a success. You've done something amazing in 6 weeks. And that will, when I say it's life-changing, if you really do the 6-week process and you give it all your heart, you're not going to be the same person after 6 weeks. I can guarantee you that. Your life, who you think you are, and then your whole life has changed because there's a shift that's taken place in you in that 6 weeks. And that's what the process is designed to just be a catalyst for. So brilliant. Welcome.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you for staying till the end. I hope I haven't kept you up past your bedtime. I'll let you go off in peace. In fact, if you like, I'll send you a little email now. I'll send you the Power Sleep Track. So check your email.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll send you the download.
Yes.
And you can just download it. It'll take a couple of minutes, or you can just stream it on the internet. I'll send
Yeah,
you the link.
yeah.
And, you can listen to it and see if that helps you.
Wonderful. And please give the little doggy a cuddle from me.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I will do. She'll appreciate that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a good sleep yourself, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
Have a
Okay.
nice evening.
Take care.
And, check your email tomorrow.
I will. I
All
will.
right.
Take
Bye
care.
for now. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.